first thought was, what the heck?
One more time.
My first thought was, what the heck?
Yeah. No, man. Was that an accident or do that on purpose, Hunter Vaughn?
That was completely on purpose.
Okay, just making sure. It's Monday's edition of Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. Hunter Vaughn, producer Tiny Hands, back at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. All right, so what you just heard there was I'm famous now, right, Hunter? You would agree with that?
I think you've moved from maybe up to D-list celebrity in Milwaukee.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I'll take that. D-list. That's better than most, man. I'll take D-list. So what was that? Thursday, I think. I got a phone call from WISN Channel 12 in Milwaukee, and they wanted me to comment on Josh Jacobs talking about a false rumor that the Packers and Eagles won't be able to wear green in Brazil. And they asked me what my first thought was, and frankly, Hunter, my first thought was,
what the heck?
Yeah, so what the heck? Anyway, good to be back with you. We were off Friday doing Rutledge and Hamilton from 12 to 2. I know some of you still joined us on the YouTube stream for that, so good to be back with you here on Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits. Lots to get into today. Some of it didn't even make the rundown, right? Like, I do want to talk Caitlin Clark in the U.S. women's national team at some point. She does not make the roster, was unable to participate in practices and tryouts due to Iowa's run to the Final Four. So she doesn't make the roster, although she is the most polarizing and the biggest name in women's basketball. Do want to touch on that at some point. As we look at the lineup, we're all over the place. Darvin Ham, Graham Mertz, Caleb Williams sucks. Matt Ryan commented on Jordan Love. There was a dumb trade proposed on the internet over the weekend. So just a ton to run down to and through over the course of the next hour as we're with you here on the ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channel, and, of course, available wherever you get your podcast. Let's dive in. So Darvin Ham, this just came through less than an hour ago from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, reporting that Darvin Ham will rejoin the Milwaukee Bucks coaching staff as Doc Rivers' lead assistant this upcoming season. And look, this is really good, no matter how you slice it, dice it, and look at it. Darvin Ham was a member of that championship staff in 2021, goes on to take his own head coaching job in L.A. with the Lakers, ultimately doesn't work out. I don't know that he was really put in a position to succeed, but nonetheless doesn't really work out for Darvin Ham through 2 seasons, and now he comes back to Milwaukee as Doc Rivers' lead assistant. This is a very, very good move. Whenever you can have somebody that, A, won a championship with you already as an assistant, but also, B, has that head coaching experience that Darvin Ham now has. Super valuable asset for a team that championship window is closing, but it's still open over the course of the next few years for the Milwaukee Bucks with Dame Lillard, Chris Middleton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo all likely back in 24-25. This is, when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, we talked about this a few weeks ago when they were eliminated, but it pops back up as you look at the NBA Finals, right, with the Celtics and the Mavericks there and have made it to that championship level. It's fascinating to me that this is a team, as I mentioned, still has championship aspirations. The championship window is still open, but you got to do whatever you can to maximize that. Because when it comes to winning championships, specifically in the NBA, but it really applies everywhere, you got to be 3 things. You got to be good, you got to be lucky, you got to be healthy. The Milwaukee Bucks have not been that last part the last 3 seasons. Chris Middleton goes down a couple years back against the Celtics, and Giannis obviously deals with the injuries he has in the postseason the last 2 years. If this is a healthy team, led by Doc Rivers and now assisted by Darvin Ham, you have the makings of a championship recipe. Now, when it comes to some of these role players, you got to get younger. This is a very big offseason for the Bucks. You got to get younger when it comes to your depth pieces and some of those additional pieces to that big 3 that I just mentioned, and Chris, Giannis, and Dame. You got to get younger, you got to get faster, but you still have the best player in the world and 2 really good complementary pieces in Dame and Chris when healthy. So you got to hope the health department, that breaks right next season, and some of your free agency moves work out. And I think they will. I like Doc Rivers. I think he's the man for the job. I like Darvin Ham. I'm glad he's back in Milwaukee. You add to that championship recipe with a guy who has championship success. He won a title, obviously, as I mentioned, with Milwaukee already. So all things, good things when it comes to this move. Darvin Ham back in Milwaukee in 2024. That's the way you view it. Nothing more to it. Let's move on to this because Hunter was fascinated by this over the weekend, and I would love to get his thoughts as the local college football expert. But he sent me an article that I admittedly did not read, but it's just headlined, former Wisconsin quarterback, one of the top 2025 NFL draft QB prospects, quarterback prospects. Graham Mertz, listed as the number 4 quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft. We're talking about Graham Mertz, the same guy that threw 5 touchdowns for the Wisconsin Badgers in his debut against Illinois in 2020. This is Graham Mertz, who was one of the leading athletes when name, image, and likeness was allowed, leading the charge by selling T-shirts with his face on it. That Graham Mertz. The Graham Mertz who had one of the greatest debuts and then biggest flops in modern college athletics. Graham Mertz, who has had a reinvention project of sorts at Florida. Had a nice season last year, and now is viewed as, I can't believe I'm about to say the sentence, Graham Mertz might be viewed as the best quarterback in the SEC entering the 2024 NCAA football season. Graham Mertz, who you'll be able to play as a member of the Florida Gators on the NCAA college football video game that's coming out. Graham Mertz, viewed as the number 4 quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft. Graham Mertz is going to go to the NFL if he doesn't completely stink up the joint this season for Florida. Hunter, the floor is yours.
This just reinforces what I continued to say when Graham Mertz and Paul Chryst were here. It was a Paul Chryst issue then, and that's why Graham Mertz didn't succeed. Because he goes to Florida, and all of a sudden he plays great and actually plays in a system that works to his advantage, and suddenly he's a really good quarterback. I mean, I have the list right here. These are the quarterbacks he's with. He's being talked about in the same breath as Shadur Sanders. He's ahead of Jalen Milroe and Quinn Ewers and Jackson Dart.
Yeah, guys,
he is legit.
Plenty of success.
He is going to be an NFL quarterback. And this exactly is why Luke Fickell needed to come to Wisconsin, because Paul Chryst wasn't going to get it done.
Wow.
And this proves it.
Yeah. I mean, I won't argue with that. I think Luke Fickell was, look, the Paul Chryst experiment got stale and ultimately it got bad in his final season. Jim Leonard was not necessarily a disciple, but obviously a longtime assistant with Paul Chryst. They needed something fresh. They went for the biggest fish in the pond. They hire Luke Fickell. Time will tell if that was the right move. But we do know moving on from Paul Chryst was the right move. But should Luke Fickell have, in retrospect, Hunter, should Luke Fickell have done whatever he could to keep Graham Mertz? Because before Fickell was hired, Mertz entered the portal. We think, if memory serves.
Yeah, it was, if he didn't, it was within like a few days. I think that they should have, because he was still around Madison, and the way that he was playing when they actually said, oh, Graham Mertz is really good if you move him off the line of scrimmage, get him playing in the pistol, get him playing in the shotgun a lot, and he plays really well. I think he would have done better than Tanner Mordecai last year, because he had a relationship with a bunch of these guys. I think the team would have been better with Graham Mertz.
Now, Mordecai obviously dealt with some injury issues, but he was a solid quarterback, right? You would agree with that.
Yeah.
He was good when he played.
Yeah, he was good. He was fine, but I think Graham Mertz is a better quarterback and would have performed better.
Can you do me a favor, Hunter?
Yeah.
Can you reach out to our friend, and I'm going to tell the story, I'll set it up, but can you reach out to our friend on Twitter, Graham Mertz is good, and get an official statement on this, on these rankings?
I will work on that right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So what I'm referencing is back when Graham Mertz was still the Wisconsin quarterback, I hosted ESPN Wisconsin College Game Day before and after every Wisconsin football game on ESPN Wisconsin. Hunter still to this day is the producer of that program. But that's the first thing Hunter and I worked together on was the ESPN Wisconsin College Game Day for several seasons. And in Graham Mertz's final year and Paul Chryst's final year in Wisconsin, somebody created a Twitter account who, to this day, I still think might be Hunter. I'm not completely positive, but I think it might be Hunter. And they created an account called Graham Mertz is good. And pretty much just going around Twitter and the cesspool that is X and sports Twitter, telling Badgers fans, hey, keep his name out of your mouth, he's a good quarterback. And now that Graham Mertz has had this quote-unquote reinvention project that I just alluded to in Florida, this account has also went through a reinvention project. Still a Badgers fan, but also a Florida fan of sorts, saying, hey, Graham Mertz is the greatest Wisconsin quarterback we've ever seen, above Russell Wilson. It's a take. It's one I don't agree with, but it's a take. So this Twitter account is still active. So I would like Hunter to reach out to Graham Mertz. It's good to get an official statement by the time our program wraps up in about 45 minutes. So that's the mission I'm sending Hunter on as we transition to a different quarterback who's been talked about a lot in the state of Wisconsin over the course, especially the last 6 months. Whoa, we actually have breaking news to get to first. See, this is what I love about the weekend. We're going to flip over to the NBA quick, Hunter. We'll get to Caleb Williams in a second. Dan Hurley has turned down the Los Angeles Lakers. So Dan Hurley, the head coach of UConn, has turned down the Lakers job, just coming through from ESPN and Adrian Wojnarowski. He's breaking news today, baby. 6-year, $70 million offer to Dan Hurley the Lakers made. And Dan Hurley will stay at UConn to try to chase that third straight national title. So that coming through just a second ago, as Dan Hurley will remain at UConn after back-to-back national championships and will not go to the Los Angeles Lakers. So there is your breaking news over the course of the last few minutes from Adrian Wojnarowski. That's fun. So the Lakers chase continues. Obviously, Darvin Ham, they get rid of. He returns back to Milwaukee now as the lead assistant to Doc Rivers. Will it be J.J. Redick, who ultimately becomes the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? Interesting. I really thought Hurley was going to take the job. I really did. Like, if you're a coach and you're up and coming, and obviously Hurley has established himself as one of the best coaches in all of college basketball, but if you're a coach up and coming, and I said, hey, like, what's the dream job? Right? What is the dream job of you as a basketball coach? I'd be hard-pressed to find a better answer than head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, don't get me wrong. Head coach at UConn's a pretty badass gig, especially when you're winning the way Dan Hurley has the last 2 years. But I'd be hard-pressed if I said to a basketball coach, hey, what's your dream job? For the answer not to be head coach of the Lakers. That's like the basketball pinnacle when it comes to the head coaching job. Heard of a guy named Phil Jackson before? Huh. Interesting. All right, there you go. Dan Hurley staying at UConn. We will see what happens with the Lakers job. I would guess J.J. Redick. That's the only other guy they've really said they have a huge interest in as he continues to call the NBA Finals on ABC and ESPN. All right, back to football, back to the NFC North, back to Caleb Williams. You just need to see the video to believe it. I mean, it's not bad, but the reaction from the new star wide receiver in Chicago is bad. Here's a throw from Caleb Williams to Keenan Allen, the former Los Angeles Charger, speaking of L.A., over the weekend. And if you're listening on the audio side, just listen to the end of the clip. Listen to the audio. Listen to if you can make out what Keenan Allen says after he catches this football thrown by the Bears' first overall pick, Caleb Williams. Take a look. Oh, hell nah. Hell nah, says Keenan Allen as he receives a Caleb Williams duck. Hell nah, says Keenan Allen. I mean, maybe that's what Bears fans are saying all of a sudden. Hell nah. He's not as good as we thought he was going to be. Hell nah. He's struggling in practice. Hell nah, is Caleb Williams. Throws just a decent floater, and I understand it's not 11 on 11, it's not live drills, but you should be rifling them in there. You got to build that chemistry with Keenan Allen if you're Caleb Williams. But this comes after we've seen a couple days of reports of Caleb Williams struggling in OTAs, maybe not having the most success right away. And don't get me wrong, the transition from USC to the NFL is not an easy transition when you're playing a pretty good Bears defense in practice. But should we be seeing this amount of concern when it comes to Caleb Williams this early? And I know Josh Yamaji, who we'll talk to in a bit, has said I'm a closeted Bears fan. I'm ready to say Caleb Williams stinks. The Bears have ruined him already. I don't fully mean that. Obviously, we need to get him in shoulder pads first before we can really make the glaring takeaway that Caleb Williams sucks. But this ain't a good start. And look, I'm probably projecting a little bit as to why Keenan Allen yelled, "Oh, hell nah." But that can't be a good thing. It's not a compliment of Caleb Williams by any means. You would think if the Bears and Ryan Poles, their general manager, are going out and making this big splash in the offseason by bringing in Keenan Allen from the Chargers, you'd probably hope that he's building a pretty good relationship with your number 1 overall pick quarterback. Another bite at the quarterback apple for the Chicago Bears. They tried it with Trubisky. They tried it with Fields. Here they go trying it again with Caleb Williams. If Keenan Allen in June is catching a football while not being covered and yelling, "Oh, hell nah," not a great sign. Hunter, play it again. Oh, hell nah. Keenan Allen to Caleb Williams. You know who else was yelling, "Oh, hell nah," over the weekend? Was somebody whose porch started on fire in Milwaukee. Joined now by Milwaukee hero Joshie DiMaggio, who tweeted out on Twitter at Josh_DiMaggio, DIMAGGIO, on Friday. Just put out a fire that had broken out at someone's house after their cigarette bucket started the porch on fire. People are telling me I'm a hero, but I'm just a normal guy doing what's best for my community. Two things can be true. He's a hero and a normal guy doing what's best for his community. Joshie, have you been honored by the city yet? Key to the city? Have the firefighters given you an honorary badge? What's your reward been from stopping a porch fire on Friday?
My reward has been the gratification of knowing the untold amount of human lives, pet lives, and the community I helped save. I have not reached out to anybody because, frankly, I don't want the glory. I just want to come on the radio and brag about it to everyone who will listen, which I've now successfully done on 3 different programs that air on ESPN Milwaukee, between KBN on Friday, Jen gave it to you this morning, and now the esteemed Mr. Irrelevant.
Esteemed indeed. Thank you for saying that.
No, I have not. Frankly, I think it wasn't a big enough fire. Had it gone worse and been worse for the occupants of the house, it probably would have been worthy, but really all they have to do now is replace some steps that had started on fire.
Yeah, but if you got to replace something, that means it wasn't a small fire.
No, it was. I said it on KBN last week and JJC this morning that had I not been there when I was, it would have been significantly more difficult to put the fire out because the flames at the point of when I reached it were already to 3 to 4 feet high, which is by no means just a little spark fire. It was on campfire on its way to bonfire, which is never good when it's attached to your house. Now,
you couldn't stomp this out, is my understanding.
Correct.
You needed to go find a hose.
Yes.
I would like you to retell, and he told this on KBN on Friday, but for anybody that hasn't heard this story yet, this was the most unbelievable part to me. There was a Ring doorbell.
Correct.
On the porch that you walked into.
Yes.
These people sent you to voicemail how many times?
3 times.
What did you say the third time you were sent to voicemail?
I'm not sure if I used explicit language, but I did say, "Hey, your porch is on fire. You might want to come out here." Because the fire had started clearly from a cigarette bin that began to melt and ignited the rest of the cigarette butts in there, and then causing the porch to then start on fire as well. So it was very apparent to me that somebody had just gotten finished with a cigarette in the past 5 to 10-ish minutes. And which escalated to a fire happening on their porch. So I ignored the first 2 because it was like, well, they see somebody here at their porch who's ringing the doorbell and clearly doing something on the stairs. Granted, I have a hose in one of them. So it's like, clearly it's not, there's something else going on here that probably would require me to go see what's happening, because if somebody was on my porch with a hose in their hand,
I'd probably go check it out.
I'd be like, hey, what the hell's going on out there? Those people did not seem to have that same mindset, and it led to what was then one of the more awkward interactions I've had with somebody in a while.
Please go on.
When the person came out, I said, yeah, your porch has been on fire for about the past 5 minutes. I've been pounding on the door and knocking on it, but it was really on fire. And they said, oh, no. And I kind of awkward. I expected them to take, what happened? How did you put it out? To ask any follow-up questions. The guy did not. And then I was like, well, I got to go. I soaked your porch and I soaked the cigarette bucket, which is now in the middle of your walkway here, in water. So I think it's out, but I don't know for sure. I don't know if anything fell behind the stairs, if any embers or what's going on, if this is going to pick up because it was very windy.
Yeah.
And then as I was leaving, the guy just said, well, thanks, I guess.
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah. Couldn't even go with thank you so much or I really
appreciate you. You're a wonderful civilian. You're a wonderful member of this community. You use the word esteemed to describe this program. You're an esteemed member of this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Saving what could have escalated into a very big house fire.
It could
multiple houses.
Yes. It's Milwaukee. Those houses are close.
They are.
It's very windy.
Do you expect to get anything out of this? Like, obviously, after he says, thanks, I guess, I imagine he's probably not grabbing a 20 out of his back pocket.
Yeah, no, the only thing I expected that I didn't receive is more like gratitude and more like shock. Like the more like, oh my God, I can't believe, because I don't know if the person realized in that moment, like the ramifications of just like how close it was to being a very bad fire and a fire that would have without doubt affected the home in some ways. Who knows how much it spreads, but all of the porch is wood. So that porch would have just been gone.
Yeah, it would have.
Had I not been there or someone else. Now, it was hard. I walked by it before I even saw the flames. But the flames picked up so much that smoke began blowing in my face when I had walked past the house. And that's how I realized something was up.
Wow.
So it was growing and growing quickly. And I think someone, because it's a fairly busy road that it was on, somebody would have probably noticed. But at that point, who knows if a hose puts it out or not? It might be past that point.
You mentioned a Ring camera.
Yeah.
Was there any part of you that wanted to be like, hey, bro, you mind sending me that footage?
I didn't think about it in the time, but as we walked away, because it was the start of walking the afternoon walk of the dog, which I got to go do here in about 2 hours here shortly. I was just so focused on, first of all, the adrenaline of, putting out a fire.
Absolutely, yeah.
All that. And then I walked away and kind of thought, man, that video would probably be really funny.
Yeah, probably.
Because I was not chill about it, which I don't know anyone other than a firefighter who'd be chill about it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because it was so confusing. I'm frantically knocking, no one's answering. The flames, mind you, as I would put one end out, so we've got the bucket that is now shrunk down and on fire with the butts in it, I'd turn around and the porch would start on fire, and that happened about 2 times.
Oh,
so
man.
It kept igniting when I was trying the stomping, and that's why I finally went to the resource. So the only thing I really expected was a more of a thank you, and I don't know how much this person, because they're clearly a renter, wants this video out. In the potential it goes viral and their landlord sees my idiot tenant almost lit their whole porch on fire and then wouldn't even answer the door when someone was putting it out for them. So it might be a tough ask.
Yeah, it would be. But if I'm being honest, what if we just say, hey, we'll embargo it for 6 months? Right? We won't post this till December. It's old news at that point. It looks like Milwaukee, but there's no snow on the ground, so obviously this is old footage. I don't know. I feel like there's a way to get it.
Yeah, the person...
You saved that person's house. I feel like it's the least they could do.
Yeah, I saved them a lot of money and a lot of stress and headache.
And potentially their life. But
yes.
who's keeping
and
track?
I have to imagine, if I'm being honest, this video has circulated amongst him and his friends. Seeing somebody out there putting out a fire, you would imagine they find it pretty funny that, hey, some guy just put out a fire and was really mad at us that we weren't answering the door, which I think I had the right to be.
Wait, so you were angry toward them?
Yeah, I got on the message I left them. I tried to convey the fact that I was very annoyed that they were sending me to voicemail, because I haven't really rang many Ring cameras.
I haven't
before,
either. Yeah,
but it went to voicemail pretty damn quickly, and we're like, hey, leave us a message, and then I was like, okay. I ignored it because I figured they would see the notification on their phone and see a person standing there and be like, oh, I should probably go get this.
Yeah.
They thought, nah, that person, they're probably just here bothering us or something. I don't know.
Do you think maybe you look like a package delivery person? Or do you think you just fit a very basic...
So the one thing that is working against that. I do have the beard.
Yes.
But I was in shorts, a T-shirt, a hat, and my girlfriend and dog were on the sidewalk. So, like, if you look out there, it's got to be like, well, what the hell's going on? Like, I'm not holding a package, I'm not doing anything, and I'm lingering there. So clearly, I'm not there just for sport. Like, if I was there, even being a solicitor, like, once you get sent to voicemail, that person probably walks away. But I ring the doorbell 3 times, and then I finally leave the message, which you decide to come out to. I think that, like, I just thought they didn't want to answer the door.
You're a hero. Well done. Hunter Vaughn, Tiny Hands. Do any further questions for our Milwaukee area hero, Josh DiMaggio?
I mean, more a comment on the surprise of them being very lackadaisical in their response. Like, they're putting out their heaters in a plastic bucket. Like, come on. I think we know what we're dealing with.
Fundamentally a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that has become apparent, and Chewy brought it up too on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. I'm just clearly working with someone who isn't the brightest, because there wasn't even like sand or dirt in the bottom of the bucket. This person thought they could just stub out their cigarettes in a bucket full of butts of cigarettes.
No water or anything.
Yeah, and there would never be any ramifications. So piecing it together, knowing it holistically, the response isn't all that much shocking, but still you want more.
Do you? Is this the same route you take every day when you walk your dog?
Walk past it every single day.
Okay, have you walked past it since Friday?
Yes. One of the stairs has been replaced.
Already?
But one of them still needs to be, because it's still charred and burnt, and like it's actually crumbling. Like it had gotten that far where like it's giving way because it doesn't have enough structural integrity anymore.
Incredible. Well, Joshy, we appreciate you sharing the story on Mr. Relevant. You're a hero. I am in awe and honored to be in your presence every day here at ESPN Milwaukee. You, sir, are what it means to be an American hero.
I just want to thank my friends, my family, my community for putting me in an opportunity where I could step up and be the hero everyone needed.
Joshy deserves something from Door County Distillery. Now, the little Foo Fighters. Plays them out.
Funnily enough, this music video, which I researched today for Jen, Gabe, and Chewy to play as my theme song.
Firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy running into a fire to save a child that I believe is in a crib.
Yep.
It's just so apt. Couldn't be better.
Good music video.
Nah, it's fine.
It's a good song. Good band.
They're all right.
All right, that's enough for you.
That's just disrespectful.
Josh DiMaggio, local hero. Joshy deserves something from Door County Distillery after what he went through on Friday. Locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. They've got everything you need, man. Whether it's that cherry vodka made with local Door County cherries, cherry brandy, apple brandy, their award-winning whiskeys. They've got the single malt, they've got the rye, they've got the bourbon, and they've got a huge list of unique cocktail recipes on their website, DoorCountyDistillery.com. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com. If you're watching on the video screen, you can scan the QR code. It will bring you right to that huge list of unique cocktail recipes. Also, nicely enough, on their website, find the retailer nearest you, store locator right on their website, DoorCountyDistillery.com, whether it's tailgating, whether it's, I know grad parties are kicking up this weekend and upcoming. Summerfest is coming up. Whatever you're tailgating with or partying or pre-gaming for or having some family out on Father's Day in the backyard, do it with Door County Distillery. Everybody be like, whoa, this is way better than anything else I've ever had. It's because it is, and it's made local. It's delicious. DoorCountyDistillery.com. 60-second break. When we come back, we talk all things green and gold. It's Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf.
Back at Door County Distillery in Carlsville, Wisconsin, with my friend Beth from Door County Distillery. We're mixing up the peach gin and juice today. That sounds like Snoop Dogg would love it. Talk to me, Beth. What are we mixing?
So we're using our gin, our flagship gin today. It's gin, lemonade, a little grenadine, and then our peach wine. So you remember the Carlsville sour we did last year?
I do, very well, yeah.
Same concept. It's just the gradient's gonna be in reverse. So we're gonna start with 1.5 ounces of our gin.
The classic green bottle.
We're gonna do 1 ounce of grenadine, 2 ounces of our lemonade. We're gonna stir that with our bar spoon.
Got it, before we add the wine.
And then we're gonna use the back of our bar spoon to float the peach wine on top. And there we go.
Looks like summer to me, Beth. Cheers.
Cheers.
The peach gin and juice from Door County Distillery with my friend Beth.
Check out their website with a huge list of unique cocktail recipes at DoorCountyDistillery.com. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com.
The peach gin and juice sounds like Snoop Dogg would drink it. Snoop! Coming to Milwaukee Saturday. I'm going to see him. It's going to be a party, man. It's going to be a party. All right, let's dive in. This past week in the American Family Insurance Championship at University Ridge Golf Course in Verona, just outside of Madison, Steve Stricker looks for a back-to-back title, misses a 3-foot putt in the playoff against Ernie Els, who raises the AmFam Championship for the first time. Matt Ryan, the former NFL quarterback, of course, long time with the Atlanta Falcons, and ended his career with the Indianapolis Colts, was part of that celebrity foursome that went on Saturday. Andy North and Pat Connaughton beating Matt Ryan and Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer. But before those guys teed off, Matt Ryan had this to say about the Packers' new quarterback, Jordan Love, and that group of young wide receivers. Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he had a great first year. We called their game against the Bucs, so we had that loss. I mean, it was a tough loss for the Packers, but he made a couple throws during that game that reminded me so much of Aaron. The ability to move outside the pocket, to throw from kind of off-platform situations and deliver it with the velocity and the accuracy that he did. I was really impressed. I think the space where he takes the next steps, right, is just cleaning up the little things, down in and down out. And I think that's going to come with experience, having all that film to watch from last year, just cleaning up some of those simple things, being a little bit more consistent. I think if he can do that, the sky's the limit. And I'm high on this group of wide receivers that they have, the young group of wide receivers. As we were preparing to call the game against them for them last year, and they jumped off the tape. And the speed and the explosiveness that they've had, they've done a great job of putting pieces around them in order to be successful. So I really think the North is going to be fun to watch. You've got Chicago and all that they've done. Minnesota's in a bit of transition. Detroit had such a great year last year, and I really see, the Packers ascending. I think this division is going to be a blast to watch.
So Matt Ryan, clearly, Hunter, a very big fan of Mr. Irrelevant. Because everything he said there, I've been saying for 4 months. This division's going to be the best in the NFL. You've got 3 potential playoff teams, at least, in Detroit and Green Bay, obviously. And then, I mentioned it earlier, Caleb Williams is going to have his freshman year struggles, his rookie struggles. But I don't know how good he needs to be to elevate Chicago to a playoff team. Between Tyson Bagent and Justin Fields last year, it was a 7-win team. And they only got better this offseason. So I don't think Caleb Williams needs to be like C.J. Stroud was in his rookie year for this to be a playoff team, for Chicago to be a playoff team. Green Bay, Matt Ryan just said it, you just heard him say it, is only getting better. Jordan Love looks like he's an absolute franchise quarterback, and that's a league MVP formerly saying that in Matt Ryan. And Detroit, look, I still agree, although I think Green Bay could certainly get into leader in the clubhouse territory, but I still think it's Detroit's division to lose. When it comes to, he used the term next steps. Is Jordan Love able to take that next step? Something I talked about at length on Saturday from 10 to noon with Molly Brown of what's my biggest need from Jordan Love in 2024? It's one word. It's consistency. We saw where the ceiling could be. We also saw where the floor is for Jordan Love in 2023. There was a lot of bad moments early. There was a lot of great moments late in the season. I just want a little bit of a flat line, right? What is the expectation for Jordan Love? Because the way some of us are acting, and we reacted to Mike Tannenbaum on Wilde and Tausch last week, saying that if he was Jordan Love, he's asking for $60 million. And if he is starting a franchise from scratch after Patrick Mahomes, his next pick would be Jordan Love. So we have people that are fully bought into what Jordan Love is what he did in the final 10 or so games of the season, including the playoffs. And while, yeah, you saw some really good things from Jordan Love, I just want to see what the consistent base is for Jordan Love over the course of time. So that's what I want. But I think taking that next step is totally realistic, especially as these young receivers and tight ends continue to grow. The sky's the limit when you've got Matt LaFleur calling the plays. This Packers offense has the potential to be, if not one of the best in the NFL. As long as Love is consistent. And that doesn't mean he's not going to have slip-ups. That doesn't mean every game he's going to be 158-3 like Baker Mayfield was against the Packers in the game Matt Ryan called for CBS. But 250, a couple of touchdowns, only 10 interceptions on the season. I mean, I don't know what the expectation is. But if you're paying him $50+ million a year, like the Lions have done with Jared Goff and like the Chiefs are doing with Mahomes. The expectation is you should be one of the 5 or 10 best quarterbacks in the league all year long. When you look at MVP odds, Jordan Love is valued as a top 5 MVP favorite this upcoming season. So the national expectation is this guy is the real deal. And I believe that. But how real of a deal is he? That's what I want to figure out when it comes to the Packers season in 2024 and Jordan Love. That's where I'm at after listening to Matt Ryan. Consistency is key for Jordan Love, the Packers quarterback. But I love hearing Matt Ryan gush over Love. Because, look, everybody has, for the most part, said some really, really good things about Jordan Love and what he was able to do in a season completely filled with uncertainty and question marks and no expectations for the first time in how long for the Green Bay Packers. But this is a guy, Matt Ryan, that is, who has played at the highest of levels. He was a league MVP. He played in a Super Bowl he should have won. Matt Ryan was no slouch. He was no scrub. So I like hearing that high praise from a guy like Matt Ryan on Jordan Love and the receivers, because you're right. There's so many pieces that and different skill sets that pop off the page. And according to reports from OTAs and with mandatory minicamp coming up this week, starting tomorrow, Jaden Reed seemingly has already taken that next step. Christian Watson is full strength with his asymmetrical hamstrings. We saw the consistency of Romeo Doubs. You know the different things that Dontavian Wicks is the best route runner provides for this offense. And those tight ends, it's a really good 1-2 punch in a league where tight ends play a pretty important role when you look at past Super Bowl champions. Consistency is the thing I want to look at. Or if you just want to go totally haywire, you could take a look at what Bleacher Report released over the weekend. I'm not spending too much time on this. What a dumb trade idea. But we have a Cowboys fan on the panel in Tiny Hands. I'm a Packers fan. And this was the trade suggested for Cowboys stud wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. Jaden Reed, a second-round pick in either Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs for CeeDee Lamb straight up. Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones sending their best player, debatably, to the team that whooped their asses in the playoffs last year. Yeah, that's a great idea, Bleacher Report. Jaden Reed, who Rob Domofsky just wrote last week, seemingly has taken the step to become the Packers' number 1 receiver. A second-round pick in either Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs for CeeDee Lamb. I don't think the Packers necessarily get a whole lot better in that situation. They have the true number 1 I've been asking for in CeeDee Lamb. But I think you lose, if let's say they go Watson and Reed, I think you lose your best 2 receivers on the roster then. I don't know. Hunter, as a Cowboys fan, is this something you would accept? Would you take the trade of Jaden Reed, a second-round pick, and Christian Watson for CeeDee Lamb?
No. I would be annoyed. No. I would be annoyed if Jerry Jones even listened to them after, like, kept the conversation going after they were to propose that. Because it's just such a dumb idea. Like, the Cowboys have their guy. They have a guy that Dak loves to go. I think it's
a worse idea for the Cowboys or the Packers?
So I think it's bad for both sides. Because I think it's bad that then you have to ask Dak to try and build chemistry with receivers he's never worked with. And then it's bad for the Packers because they would have to then re-sign CeeDee Lamb to make this anything other than a 1-year rental. So then you're just putting the Packers into a bad cap spot, which they wouldn't want to do. And then you're giving the Cowboys young receivers who are under contract, who are very good receivers, and could potentially one of them develop into what CeeDee Lamb is right now as a top 5 receiver. Like, it's bad both ways. It's absurd to me that they would even consider this as like, yeah, we'll go ahead and print this. This is going to be okay. No one will think this is stupid at all. Like, it's ridiculous. I hate clickbait.
Yeah, it is. Well, I do too. Dumb trades, dumb takes also this weekend on ESPN Wisconsin. I don't know what's in the air at the AmFam Championship, but it made some people say some really stupid stuff over the weekend. I'm going to start with Jesse Nelson on Sunday Karma yesterday from 10 to noon on ESPN Wisconsin. He compared Romeo Doubs to Alan Lazard. Not a good comparison for many reasons. The best part about Alan Lazard's game is he's a good blocker. The best part about Romeo Doubs' game is he's got the strongest hands on the team. Alan Lazard stinks. He went to New York, signed this mega deal, and had like 20 catches last year. in an offense that desperately needed a real receiver not named Garrett Wilson. And then Saturday, Tiny Hands is producing a show with me and Molly Brown. And I'm just going to give him the floor because I love Hunter. I just don't understand where his head went on Saturday. When he was talking about the Packers kicking battle between Jack Podlesny, Anders Carlson, and Greg Joseph, Hunter said, what was it, Hunter?
I said that I don't like when teams do kicking battles because I think that position, it's so much more mental than it is anything physical. I would approach it from just, if you don't think Anders is the guy and you don't want to give him any more opportunities, get rid of him, just bring somebody else in. If they're not coming through on it, then you get rid of him and you just bring somebody else in again. There's enough kickers that are out there that you can find somebody. The Cowboys found their guy from the UFL. I don't like the idea of doing kicker battles. That's all I was saying with it, and apparently it's a terrible take.
Well, in June, it's a bad take. In October, I get where you're coming from. But when you have 90 roster spots and you had a rookie kicker that I don't want to say he ruined your season, but he had some bad outings. He missed kicks in, I think it was 6 of the last 8 games, including the divisional round game against San Francisco. But you drafted him. There's draft capital invested. So nobody's
what, like a 6th round pick?
But nobody's losing by keeping him on the roster right now. And bringing in competition is good. Haven't you ever heard the saying, pressure creates diamonds, Hunter? Now, this is not me making the case that Anders Carlson is a diamond, but competition is good. You want competition in every positional group, whether it's kicker, quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, long snapper, I don't care. They're having a long snapper battle right now. Do you have an issue with that? The former Badger Peter Bowden brought in as an undrafted free agent who might actually win that job?
That's not as much of a mental position. That's not a position where you need to have ice in your veins to be able to handle that. I'm just saying, anytime the Cowboys have had kicker battles, it hasn't worked out well for them. So I'm just of the mind I would rather they just get rid of their guys, bring somebody else in, and if it's not working out, go to somebody else. That's all I'm saying.
It seems to me like you are projecting the Cowboys, I don't even know what the right word is, dysfunction at the kicker position, and bringing that to the Packers and OTAs. Yes, they have 3 kickers. That's absurd. But 2 is completely normal this time of year. And I don't think it's a bad thing. That means you don't have somebody taking every rep. That means you have good competition. If everybody's doing great, then what? Should we keep 3 kickers then? The opposite of your argument?
No, you're only going to have 1 kicker. So then just bring in your 1 kicker, and then that kicker is getting all of the reps, so then know if he's the guy or not. Because then if he's showing consistency, then he's the guy. If he's not, then you get rid of him and you find somebody else.
Who's the Packers kicker right now?
Nobody knows. That's not a good thing.
Is that a bad thing?
I don't think it's a good thing. Just know who your kicker is going to be. Know that, hey, this is the guy we're going to rely on.
You don't need to right now.
I've seen this go south multiple times. And then they finally don't. I'm not projecting. I've literally seen it happen over multiple seasons.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We'll leave it at that. Hunter's Kicker Takes, brought to you by Tiny Hands. All right, we've got a bunch to get into here. What we learned. Let's start with this. Dumb trades, dumb takes. It's June in a football world. It's June. That's what we've learned. We're talking about kicker battles, Alan Lazard, trading Jaden Reed, Christian Watson as a second-round pick for CeeDee Lamb. It's June, man. It's June. It's also the offseason for James Harden, who attended a wedding over the weekend with his girlfriend. His girlfriend caught the bouquet, and somebody caught it on video. You got to see this to believe it. James Harden at a wedding as his girlfriend catches the bouquet. Roll the tape. Everybody's got to see this. It's the best thing you'll see today. So you'll see James there. He looks down. His girlfriend pops up with the bouquet, and those eyes widen. And he completely melts down. You know what? Proper reaction, James. Proper reaction. You know what's happening when James gets home the next day? So, baby, I caught that bouquet. You got the ring picked out? Hey, baby, just so you know, my ring size is 7. Just dropping hints. That bouquet is a curse, man. I feel bad for James. I feel bad for anybody that's been in that situation. It's uncomfortable. You're in a situation full of love and marriage and wedding rings and vows and positive affirmations. Somebody catches the tradition. That means you're getting married next. That's uncomfortable. I feel for James Harden in that situation. Now, I don't know if it was the most proper reaction. It's funny to me. Probably not so funny to his girlfriend who's seeing this go viral. But, hey, just drop in your ring size. Let him know what cut you like. How many carats you're thinking. I think it's funny. Tough break for James, but I feel like everybody's been through this at some point. Hunter, before you got married, did your now wife catch a bouquet at any point?
No, we ended up, because of our dating timeline, most of it was the pandemic. So I didn't have to deal with that. I dodged that bullet.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Do you think you would have reacted? Do you think you would have reacted better than James?
Yes, but I also just to kind of put the full timeline together for people. We started dating we were officially together early September of 2019. We started talking about rings and looking at rings. It would have been January of 2020 because I knew right away.
You moved fast.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, I'm going to marry her. She's who I want to be my wife. So why am I going to sit here and mess around? So it was just, I knew what direction our relationship was going in. So that wouldn't have freaked me out a whole lot unless it would have been 2 weeks into us dating. And
okay.
So, yeah, I do also have a quote from Graham Mertz is good, by the way.
Oh, yes, this is the best way to end the show. Let's end the show with what we learned from Graham Mertz's good Twitter account after our earlier conversation around Graham Mertz being ranked, what was it, the 4th quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft?
Yes, number 4.
Debatably, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. What is the statement on those rankings from Graham Mertz's good?
Being named number 4 is both complimentary yet also disrespectful. Being number 4 is a sign that the real ones recognize Mertz's ability to be good, while also not recognizing his efficiency numbers are better than any QB in the nation returning. One thing that is great about Graham Mertz is he lets his play do the talking, and it's expected to see him rise up the big boards come next April. Every team knows his true value and has him highlighted. I love it. Graham Mertz is going to be a second round pick. It's going to be great.
What a world we live in. What a long, strange trip it's been. We're back with you Wednesday, beginning at 12:30 on ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channels. Also available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Wisconsin On Demand, brought to you by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits. Thank you to Milwaukee hero Josh DiMaggio for spending some time with us. Big thanks to Tiny Hands, as always, for making me look good, sound good, all the in-betweens. Always good catching up with Hunter. What a weekend it was. We didn't even touch 2-0 lead for the Celtics over the Mavericks as the series shifts back to Dallas later this week. Mavs got to win Game 3. They got to. Drew Holiday in search for another ring, just this time in the wrong shade of green, as the Boston Celtics hang on to a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals. We will talk more about that coming up on Wednesday. Thanks for spending some time with us today. We're back with you, as I mentioned, on Wednesday. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison YouTube channels. We do this 3 times a week. We'll talk to you Wednesday. I'm Alex Strouf. Peace.
My first thought was, what the heck?